Got a duo of pairs. They're going to initiate the top of this class, and of those, the one in the lead is the one that I prefer in terms of her body shape and depth. I think she's a little better in terms of her udder feature, and I think she's the one that's just a little more magnanimous in terms of her look and her design as you study her up front. So just a very nice way to start out. A pair that comes into the cow is gorgeous through the front 1/3 of her body. She's very long in terms of her side and level in terms of her lines and symmetry. She's not as stout as the pair up front, one that's not as correct in terms of her body shape. I level her out in terms of her udder as well. Heifer in 3 is really good looking, very fresh out here. She needs more natural width and power, stouting her all the way through, but one that I like her in terms of her condition more than the next two. Got a very muscular pair of heifers in 4 and 5. Stout, powerful, opened up cattle that both of them need to go just a little differently in terms of how they handle themselves, in terms of their rear running gear. I'd also like to tweak them just some in terms of their show ring condition, but there is a lot of muscle and a lot of power. I prefer the young ladies to lead off that pair because I think she's better out of her shoulder and knee. And then we close out the class with one that is good in terms of her show ring condition out here. She's long fronted. She's the one in terms of her body shape. She's the tightest in terms of her forerib, doesn't transition as correctly in terms of her lines of her body to her flank. But again, a very competitive class. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in our final class here before the senior division selection. First place go to Sarah Danley with Cassie Tenbar. Second place exhibited by Kara Burns with Envy Me CP. Third place exhibited by Jalen Krimmel with TB Harlequin. Fourth place will go to Sheridan Van Blarkum. Fifth place in that class exhibited by TJ Danley Jr. Sixth place and congratulations going to Savannah Wiley. We'll now bring those first and seconds in. Our judge will select as champion reserve senior females.
Well, let's give these exhibitors a nice round of applause on another highly competitive division of cattle out here. Been some differences in terms of type and kind, but very good. The heifer out of the first class, we talked about her. One, that in terms of her look and her presence, you like her because she's refined, she's balanced, she has symmetry. Compared to the other cattle in the lineup, she's not quite as bold in terms of her body shape. She's not quite as stout all the way through. The heifer that comes out of two, we talked about her from the point of her shoulder back. You admire a great deal, many things about her in terms of her rib, her broodiness, her muscularity, yet she's still very agile. When we put her in motion, you can see from the stands or in the holding ring where she falls a little short in the lineup. She's just not as attractive in terms of her head, neck, and shoulder as the other ones out here, but still one that I find a great deal of redeeming value in. Then the heifer that comes out of three, again, she's one that I like her in terms of her look. Even though she wasn't quite as rocket-fronted as the one that stood second, she still balances up well. She's got a show ring presence. She's proportionally correct in terms of her muscle, in terms of her body shape, and one that's still very good at the ground, a female that's just very, very nice. And then the cow-calf pair at the back, one that's doing a good job raising that calf alongside. She is one that's in good condition. I like her in terms of her structure. I think she's good in terms of her muscle. Again, maybe she wants to break and separate just a little right behind her shoulder blade. Maybe doesn't balance up quite as uniquely as another one out here, but still very good. Young lady out of three, 52-12 is the champion. Congratulations to her.
Well, congratulations, your senior champion coming out of Class 10, back number 5212. This is LR Miss Maggie CP, exhibited by Avery Matthey.
Gentleman's heifer that was second in that class. We discussed her, and again, I thought that pair was very, very good, and they were close. She is so beautifully elegant and refined up front, and yet one that still, in terms of her foundation, the way that she goes at the ground, I think she's ultrasound and flexible. We talked about the fact that she could be deeper in terms of her side, and she's not as powerful in terms of her true shape as some of them out here, but a very competitive one nonetheless. The pair will claim reserve in this division. Congratulations to them.
And congratulations, reserve champion senior coming out of that final class, going to Sarah Danley with Cassie Tenbar. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors. At this time, we're going to bring in your champion reserve juniors and seniors, and our judge will select his grand and reserve grand champion female. After that selection, we are going to take a little bit of a break before we start our bull show.
Well, as we get out here to Grand and Reserve and the youth female show, y'all been a pretty good crowd, but y'all can be better. Give them a big round of applause out here. They've worked hard, came to OKC. They've done a good job out here, and lots of good ones have gone through the ring so far. And to be honest with you, I'm very pleased with those two that stand out there. I think they look very similar. More than just their color. I think their type and kind is similar. The heifer in the lead there, the calf female or junior, whatever you call it, that heifer is just unique in terms of the fact that she is so sweet through her front end, and yet she's one that's still very good in terms of her body shape. For her age and her maturity, she's one of the stoutest ones that has come in here in terms of her true muscle and her true wit. I still think she handles that power quite well in terms of her running gear. She is not perfect, and I could tweak some things on her. I'd like to see her go just a shade softer out of her hock, and again, I'd tuck her down in her tail head just a little. But in terms of uniqueness, I think she's out there by quite a big margin from the rest of her contemporaries. The heifer that won the older division, much like her in terms of lines and ballads, she's probably even a little more pronounced in terms of her rib shape, some due to maturity and age advantage. She is excellent at the ground. She is so sound and comfortable out here in terms of the way that she goes. You know, she's not as radically cool in terms of her look as the heifer that wins the first division, but she still has show ring presence. Could we chisel her under her jaw, tuck her in just a notch neater in terms of her chest floor? Sure we could. The heifer that was the reserve division in the junior deal, again, a heifer that I think is very sound, still one that's got muscle and power, not quite as out there or extra as the heifer that beat her. The pair's doing an excellent job raising that calf, even though she's in her working clothes and lost some of her schoolgirl figure, still a female that looks like a lady and a show heifer out here. So a very, very good set. Give them a nice round of applause. We'll get you a Grand in Reserve.
Well, before he slaps his champion, let's put our hands together for our judge today, Mr. Ryan Rash. Well, congratulations. Your grand champion, Longhorn female here in our junior show. Coming from the junior division goes to Harper Renee Peterson with LR Ripping CP. And congratulations, reserve grand champion coming out of that senior division, going to Avery Matthew with LR Miss Maggie CP. Again, congratulations to all of those exhibitors. At this time, we're going to take about a 15-minute break here in the Longhorn ring before we start our bull show. Over here in ring one, we're about ready to get started with your British White Junior show. Well, at this time, we are going to start your British White Junior Female Show. Over here in Ring 1, first class in the ring, we have 4 entries in this class. We are excited to welcome your judge today, Ms. Jeremy Viator of Tomball, Texas. She is currently the National Marketing Manager at Westway Feed and a graduate from Clarendon College in Texas A&M. Currently, she runs a cow-calf operation with her mom and has judged across the United States. She coordinates and carries out junior exhibitor clinics focusing on beef industry advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Jim Norick, let's put our hands together for Jeremy Viator. We'd like to remind you all to stay up to date with the latest news and information from the Cattlemen's Congress with an official app. Find the complete schedule, class breaks, ring status, watch the show live, and so much more, all from your phone. Download it today from the Apple Store or Google Play. Again, stay up to date with the latest news and information from the Cattlemen's Congress with the official app.
Well, on New Year's Eve, I don't think there's a better thing that we can do to spend some time working with young people and here at one of the best run shows in the country. We start off with a really nice female to win our class of British Whites. Young lady, you can just go ahead and lead her out. She's the best balanced, most complete female, and you analyze her from a side profile in terms of just how she assembles parts and pieces and muscularity, soundness. She's the one that checks the most boxes. I encourage that young lady, let's work at keeping that heifer's head up as she goes. I think it makes her even a bit more attractive. One that's perhaps even bigger ribbed and stouter middled comes next. She gets quite a bit plainer through the lower part of her chest and throat. She's the one that you're going to have to, as she's so easy fleshing, you're going to have to manage that lower front a little bit. But I think she's the next logical fit in terms of cow rib shape and doability. She's big pinned, she's stout and wide made. Just like to tidy her up just a little bit. The bottom pair is a challenge. You have to decide where your priorities are. And for me, the young lady in third, the youngest heifer in the class, balances up a bit better. And if you want to say she's nicer necked and fronted than that one right in front of you, I don't disagree, but where I'd like to change her is realign her hip. She wants to duck her pins just a little. She's more refined in her bone work, so just give her a bit more foot and substance and change her hip. The one in fourth does have those features of being stouter, and she might be the heaviest muscled in the class, but she's also the straightest fronted. Doesn't balance up as well. Part of it is she just hadn't relaxed out here. Maybe when she decides to be a little bit better on how she acts, she might handle her hip differently. Top to bottom, nice set of cattle. Good way to start the class. Congratulations to each of those exhibitors.
Well, congratulations in our first class here in your British White Junior Female Show. First place will go to Kaylee Walczewski with Rice Creek Acres Raven. Second place in that class exhibited by Ryan Walczewski with Old Stone Jub's Joys Johanna. Third place was exhibited by Isabella Johnson. In fourth place will go to Savannah James. We'll now look to see your second class here in the British White Junior Female Show.
As they make the turn here, young man, y'all just come on and make the circle and facing out here. Cowboy here is going to win our class, and let's go ahead and just pull her out here, young man. Just keep coming. From just a structural design, she's obviously looser in her spine. She has more give to her pastern and her hock as she gets out and goes. And with that said, we still could relax her just a little bit in terms of how she handles and gets out and moves. But she's big and open through her midsection. She's wide pinned, fairly maternal in her look. Longer-sided female stands here in second, but we don't want to redesign that female from a structure standpoint. She's not comfortable out here. You watch her, it starts in her mid-spine, picks her top up, and just wants to get out and kind of wing out on that hind, in terms of how she handles her hind two. But still, we appreciate the extension, appreciate the muscle shape of that female. Congratulations to those two exhibitors.
Well, congratulations in Class 2. First place exhibited by Jet Smith with SC Lucille. Second place will go to Emma Walczewski with MSF LM29. We'll now bring in Class 3 here in your British White Junior Female Show.
Starting off the bull show with a single entry of the young ladies. And again, if we could leave this individual in the parked or neutral position, I think that you can see easily that that one is really strong in terms of his top line. I think, again, in terms of his depth aside, his body build, he's good there. He's got some muscle shape when you get in behind him. When we get him going around the ring, he's got to be more agile and more correct in terms of how he operates out of his hip and rear hock, but still a nice one to start off the show. Give them a good round of applause.
Well, congratulations. Back over here in the Longhorn ring, we are getting started with your bull show. First place in Class 18. Go to back number 5222. This is Harper Renee Peterson with LR Thunder CP. We'll now look to see Class 19. These bulls are born March through April of the preceding calendar year.
Definitely the outlier in this class in terms of just not only her color pattern, but her build. And you get this one out and you watch her go and you look at her from a balanced perspective. She puts all those things that you want in one package and does so quite well. She's not perfect in terms of the reach to her hock, but I think she certainly has enough reach and give, just balances up really well. She's really square out of the top of her shoulder all the way into her loin, square pinned. I like the base width that she has, both coming and going. She wins hands down for me. The decision is to be made is in second and third. Cowboy, let's go ahead and lead your heifer. And we give up just a little bit of scale and size to get just an appropriately maternal built female. She's deep-sided and just has a real forage efficient look to her. Yes, you certainly want to tidy her up underneath her neck, but truthfully, she's the one that in terms of flex and give in the entire class, she has just a beautiful stride and set and angle to both her front end and her hock. And that's her advantage over the longer scaled female that comes around here in third. This one's a little bit leaner in terms of her rib shape. She gives up some in terms of just depth of flank. She triangulates from her chest floor back into her flank. But even so, she has as much shape as our class winner. I just want to change this female and redesign her from a structural standpoint. She's a little tighter wound and rounder hipped, loosen her up, and she gets more competitive as she's out here. Good class of cattle. Congratulations to those young exhibitors.
Well, a very logical way that this duo sorts out in the bull show here. The gentleman's in the lead. Obviously, that is the one that has decisive advantages in terms of muscle, power, depth, and width. He's also the more attractive one in terms of his show ring presence, and he is way better in terms of the angle that he presents through his shoulder and knee, both when we have him stopped and when we put him in motion. Now, the young ladies that comes in second, very strong topped, fashionably lined individual. It's very good in terms of length and extension, more tapered and higher and drier in terms of rear flank, not as correct in terms of rib, gets a little stilty up front when we ask that one to get out and move, but one that's really got some look and some presence. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations back over in the British White Junior Show. First place in Class 3 exhibited by Caden Hockerman with HHF Squirrel. Second place was exhibited by Jet Smith. In third place went to Trenton Briley. Now in the ring will be your fourth class of females over here in Ring 1. Back in the Longhorn ring, results Class 19. First place went to back number 5224. This is LR Kinda Salty CP, exhibited by Michael Brody Gregory. And second place was exhibited by Amelia Lynn Hawkins. Now in ring 2 is Class 20. These bulls are born January through February of the preceding calendar year.
You know, it's not often I'll say this about an individual, but the animal that wins this class in terms of her structure is almost impeccable in terms of slope to her shoulder and inflection at her knee, and then how she gets out and hits her hock hits the ground, and she's so square at the ground. So all of those structure advantages, and then just the build, the maternal rib shape, the femininity, couple that with the fact that she's showing us some udder development, that female female and wins the class, and I just love her structural design. Taking nothing away from just a bit more moderately framed female, because she's feminine, she's an angular. She just happens to run into one that's just a bit stouter in terms of overall muscle build, in terms of her boldness and bone and foot. This female, I think, is very productive in terms of just being functional, but the one that wins the class is exceptional in a lot of places. So congratulations to those two young ladies.
Well, congratulations back over here in the British White Junior Ring. Results of Class 4. First place went to Kylie Spradling with Tara's Rubras, 22:31. And second place, and congratulations, go to Taylor Miller with KT Snow Bunny, 22:31. We're now going to bring in Class 5 here in your British White Junior Show.
Perhaps one of the boldest featured females we've seen yet today in terms of just the bone and foot that she stands on. Really powerful in terms of her muscle shape. Her shoulder blade lays a bit further forward, and you can see as she comes to the ground, her knee, she just wants to twist ever so slightly. She carries some extra condition in her chest, but still she's bold and stout, pretty headed, and just a powerful female. Gonna have some opportunities as a bull maker down the road.
Well, congratulations in Class 5. First place went to Caden Hockerman with HHF Dora. We're now going to see your final class here in our British Junior Female Show. This will be Class 6.
When the young man's bull in the lead, I think takes some of the positive parts and pieces of the next two that stand in the lineup and put them into one package, because he has muscle and power and shape like the young ladies that comes in second, and he's got an added shot of look and presence like the one that comes in third. He has a particular advantage as you study him over the 1 and 2 in terms of the fact that he is more correct in terms of his shoulder assembly. He's tucked in neater in terms of his chest floor, and he's just more attractive in terms of his show ring silhouette and presence. If I was going to change or modify him, I'd stouten him in terms of his bone, foot, and feature, make him more rugged in terms of his look, but one that I think goes to the top quite easily. The powerful bull of the group stands in 2, easily the heaviest muscled, the deepest bodied, one that is very rugged in terms of his design. I think he's good enough in terms of his look. I'd change him out of his shoulder, but most importantly, when we put him in motion, he just wants to get too far up underneath himself in terms of the way that he motivates out of his rear hip and hog. I need to see him more agile and authoritative in terms of how he handles his pastern. The best looking one of the class stands in 3, really classy, good line, balance, symmetry, all of those things are very well described. The one that comes in 3rd, that one though is the tightest in terms of his body shape of the top trio, and the lightest in terms of total muscularity of the top trio as well. Then we have 1 and 4 that you like the length, you like the extension. That one doesn't balance or proportion quite as nicely. You study him from his side view present, wants to get deeper in terms of his chest and cut up more in terms of his underline, but still a good class. Give him a nice round of applause.
Single entry, and when you evaluate her as an individual, you like the levelness of lines, the squareness of build to this female. She's sound enough when she gets out and goes. She's a little bit past her prime in terms of condition. She's starting to push her chest floor out, gets a little plainer necked, but I think when you kick that cow out and let her nurse down, a lot of that will lean up. She's wanted to, as her udder development is showing, I appreciate that you know, she's past 2 and she sure needs to show us this, maybe to like to level her udder up just a touch. She's showing us that she's going to have some tilt there, but big-bodied, soft-structured individual, very functional for the young lady. Congratulations to her.
Well, congratulations in our final class of British White Junior Females. First place go to Kylie Spradling with SC Class Act. We'll now look to see all those firsts and seconds back in the ring, and our judge will select her grand and reserve grand champion junior British white females. Back over in the Longhorn ring, results of Class 20 in your bull show. First place went to back number 5228. This is TJD Kamikaze, exhibited by TJ Danley Jr. Second place was exhibited by Sarah Danley. Third place exhibited by Jalen Krimmel. And fourth place went to Ava Miller. Now in the ring is Class 21, your final class of bulls. These bulls were born September through December of the second preceding calendar year.
Well, in this particular pair of bulls, the young ladies that leads off again in terms of body shape and muscularity, obviously the one that has some advantages wherever you analyze the pair in those areas. Also, I think balances up nicer in terms of lines and symmetry. One that if I need to change him, and I do, he's just not as correct in terms of his rear pastern. Wants to snap, crackle, and pop a little too much on every step for me to be really comfortable with that one's structural integrity, but still, in this pair, I'm going to let that one win. Gentlemen's black and white one that comes in second. Again, lots of length, lots of extension. That one is tighter in terms of body shape, not as heavy muscled. And that one, too, in terms of structure, wanting to favor the off-show side leg out here, really not wanting to set down securely there. But nice pair. Give them a good round of applause.
Well, congratulations in our final class over here in the Bull Show. First place, go to back number 5230. This is Rev Me Up CP, exhibited by Sarah Danley. Second place, exhibited by Grant Morgan with Done Wired Up. We'll now look to see all those firsts and seconds back, and our judge is going to select the grand and reserve grand champion bull.
Folks ringside, let's put our hands together for our junior British white exhibitors. Not a lot in numbers, but certainly a lot in terms of quality. And what I like about these cattle is just their practicality. And if you look at the cattle and you study them, there's things that you like from a beef industry standpoint in terms of just hitting a lot of marks of quality in functional beef cattle, and I think that's real important in my mind. Young lady to the far left with the oldest female out here, we talked about her being just basic in terms of type and kind, level in her lines, square hips, sound enough on her hind wheels, change her up in her front, freshen her up some. But still, I think there's lots of good to that female. One right in front of her, the young man has. She's perhaps one of the stouter, heavier, muscled females out here. When you get back, you can see she gets a little straighter in her knee, just pushes her knee forward. And again, she's one that pushes some chest floor, probably could have leaned that female up. The one that I said is really, really sound, young lady with the blue sweater in front of me, she's just, when she gets out and goes, she's an athlete. Where you want to change her is just blend her top ever so slightly. And young lady, when you pick her head up, that makes a big difference. At the top of her shoulder into right behind her shoulder, you could blend it just a little better. But when I think about that one as a cow kicked out in the pasture, she's very maternal, she's exceptional in her skeletal build, and very practical. The one that's really chromed up here, boy, she just catches your attention in terms of presence. She's one that you love the shape to her top, because she comes out of her shoulder all the way to her loin and her hip. She's round rib, but still has enough rib shape. I guess where she gets out on the edge for me sometimes, you have to ask yourself, does she have enough flex out of her hock? Because the two on either side of her are exceptional, and I think she does have enough flex. There's sometimes where she drags just a little bit, but when you read her and you just study on her, and I think she's sound. Young ladies, female, it's one is, young lady, we have to work at keeping that heifer's head up. Very practical female. She's deep from forerib to flank. She's one that's super sound, excellent at the ground. Young man's female, a little bit leaner in her condition. She's one that you appreciate, and she's extended. Want to loosen her in her structure. She gets a bit more rigid off of both ends, gets her up in her spine. So let's put her hands together. One last comment for you young folks is just to thank the folks here at this show. They do an exceptional job, and for you guys to have this show, I understand there's some exhibitors from quite a few distances. Appreciate that you're here. Be sure to thank the Cattlemen's Congress folks as well.
As we get out here on the Longhorn Bull division, again, maybe not the numbers that we saw on the female side, but still some quality. We talked about the bull out of Class 1, single entry. Again, when we leave him stopped, you admire a great deal, many things about him in terms of his muscle, his body proportions, one that still portrays some look and levelness of design. He's got to go differently for me to be more competitive within the lineup. The bull that comes out of Class 2, I think one of the very good built, sounder structured bulls of the first class winners, one that still has some muscle and some power. I don't think he's quite as stout or unique as another one in the lineup, but again, I like his structure. I like the way that he moves and the way that he goes out of his shoulder and his knee. The one that wins 3, I think very solid. He's got muscle, he's got power, he's got look. He's one of the two that I really like the structural integrity. He's very comfortable and flexible out here, so just a nice one. We talked about the young ladies bull out of 4, much like the one in Class 1. We leave them stopped there, really powerful, deep-bodied, square-made, heavy muscle individual. Just wants to snap, crackle, and pop his ankles. Too much for me. Some nice seconds. We'll get you a grand reserve. Put your hands together for the bull exhibitors.
Well, congratulations over here in the British White Junior Show. Your champion coming out of Class 3. Congratulations goes to Caden Hockerman with HHF Squirrel. And reserve champion's going to come out of Class 4. Congratulations to Kylie Spradling with Tara Rubras, 2231. Again, congratulations to our Junior British White exhibitors. We're now going to start your British White Junior Steer Show. Back over the Longhorn ring, congratulations, your grand champion bull coming out of Class 20. Went to TJD Kamikaze, exhibited by TJ Danley Jr. And your reserve champion over here in the Longhorn ring, reserve champion bull, goes to back number 5224. That's LR Kinda Salty CP, exhibited by Michael Brody Gregory. We're now going to start the Longhorn Steer Show over here in Ring 2. We'll look to see Class 26. These are steers born April through June of the preceding calendar year. Then back over in Ring 1, we're going to start your Junior British White Steer Show. We have one entry in this class. Class 1 will be looking for Isabella Johnson.
just a single entry in our steer show, and young lady steer is one you appreciate at the ground in terms of flex and how he gets out and moves. In terms of shape, you can read from where I'm at. You can see the stifle push, the loin edge to him. He'll be one that has enough muscle, very attractive from the side. Young lady, let's go ahead and lead him out. So nice prospect for the young lady. Congratulations for her. She'll have the champion steer.
Well, congratulations. Your champion British White Steer goes to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Pan. We'll now look to start your British White Junior Bull Show. First class in the ring, we'll look to see Class 1.
We move out here in the steer show, and again, the silver and white steer that's going to win. I just think balances up, not only nicer in terms of his presence, but also the one that I prefer, his body style, his roundness of rib, and I think there's more true width and squareness in him. Now, could I relax him and change him in terms of his knee and shoulder, square him up in terms of his front toe some? Sure, I could, but still the one that I like the best of this pair. The black and white one that comes in second, really extended, very youthful through his front end. One, though, that as you study him in terms of his underpinning and underline, he's just not as cracked because he wants to be deeper in terms of his chest, elevate up in terms of his flank. And of the pair of cattle, he's the one that doesn't have quite as much muscle to him, but they both did a good job. Give those gentlemen a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations. In our first class steers over here in the junior Longhorn ring. First place exhibited by Ethan Hickman. Second place in that class, we'll go to Michael Brody Gregory. We'll now look to see Class 27. These steers are born January through March of the preceding calendar year.
Just a June baby over in the White Park side as we start with the bull show. Young lady's bull calf's very attractive. His neck comes out of his shoulder high. Young lady, let's go ahead and lead him out. And as you project him forward and look at his structure and read the slopes and angles, he has enough flex and build. You know, he's pretty juvenile and pretty green right behind his shoulder. You might want to strengthen him just a touch. I'm sure we'll see some that are probably a little bigger bone, but real attractive, good prospect, young lady.
Well, congratulations in a first class, the British White Junior Bulls. First place will go to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Chaos. Your next class in the ring here in our bull show will be Class 2. We'll have one entry in this class.
when we evaluate bull calves at this age, it's not unusual to have a lot of difference in terms of maturity, and some of that comes from different parts of the country in terms of environment and where we show or raise these cattle. And I see that maturity difference in these two cattle, but there's so many positives on our class winner. He's going to go ahead and win because he is the stouter bone, stouter featured, bigger bodied individual. He's one just in terms of design, I think he's more correct. And the young lady bull that stands in second, he's pretty green, he's pretty juvenile at this point. We like to change the balance that guy from his chest floor back to his flank, and he just want to drop him down some. He's not as coordinated on his back legs. He goes away from you, but he's shapely. He's big square-ended, big square top. He's going to mature into a bull that has quite a bit of muscle to him. Just today, I think he's a little greener compared to that one that wins the class, not as powerful.
Well, congratulations in Class 2 here in your British White Junior Bull Show. First place exhibited by Emma Walczewski with RCA Dewey. Second place in that class will go to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Atlas. We'll now look to see Class 3 here in your Bull Show. Be looking for 2 entries in this class.
This particular pair of bulls, it might not be as simple as you think. Both the bulls have enough shape and muscularity, rib, you like all those things, but there's some structural differences that bring the cattle closer together. The bull that we start with he's the big stout featured one, really attractive from the side. From his midrib forward, he's exceptional in terms of how he's built there. I want to spread his front feet there just a little bit, young lady. When he gets out and goes, on his hind leg, he wants to have the weight on the inside of his back foot and just a bit rigid in his pastern. I'd like to relax him there just a little bit, but boy, I like the design and muscle shape, so we're going to use him because of all those advantages. The bull here in second, he gives up some in terms of power and poundage, but he does have just a softer hind leg there. He's one, though, is a little shallow-heeled. Good save. I think she deserves a round of applause for that, folks. Good job. He's one that's a little shallower heeled, but he is, I think, has more flex to his pastern, so that is the advantage that he has. Just gives up too much shape right behind his shoulder, and as you get away right behind him, pin to pin. But nice pair of bulls.
Well, as we get out here in this class, if you are fortunate enough, as I and Miss Jeremy are, to judge these shows enough, you'll come across a class that sometimes they just don't sort out as easy as others. And this is one of those classes right here. And it's not for a lack of quality. It's just you can justify over half of them to win, depending on what you want to prioritize and what you want to pick. You just got to talk it right, because there is no XYZ equation to how these sort out here. The one up front for me is the one that I need to change the least about. He's one that I think is very good in terms of his structure, way better moving than the one that comes in second, and yet he's still got enough power, enough stoutness to stay up here in the lead. One that I just think better built than the other ones out here. If we leave him stopped, I like the steering two to win. He's got more muscle, he's got more look, he's just too straight off either end of his skeleton for me to be comfortable to let him up there in first. But again, stopped, I really like the look, and I like that added stoutness and squareness that he has. The best looking one's in third. He is attractive, he is strong lined, he is good in terms of balance. He's just too frail in terms of his bone, and he's the lightest muscled one of the top trio. If we just want to judge him on movement, the 1 and 4 can run up in the top pair because he's very comfortable and flexible. We get him stopped and he wants to raise up in terms of his tailhead, break in terms of his top line. Young ladies get one that comes next in terms of body shape, depth of size and flank, squareness of hip. He's probably the leader of the entire class. For me, he doesn't balance up nearly as nicely as he needs to, wants to get underneath himself in terms of movement. The one right behind him, predominantly white one, that one too has a lot of muscle and a lot of power. Again, structurally or look, I don't think is correct. Then we've got one that's really long-sided, very pretty fronted. There's just not enough body mass in that one. And then we close out with one again that I think is good as you study him up front in terms of the angles to his shoulder and knee, head and neck. So after that, from the point of his shoulder back, he loses up too much in terms of mass and dimension. Again, good quality class, just one that has a lot of differences to it. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, over in the Longhorn ring, we have the results of Class 27. First place exhibited by Hadley Anderson with TB Razor. Second place was exhibited by Tommy Stewart. Third place will go to Tyler Lindsay. Fourth place in that class exhibited by Hunter Lawson. Fifth place went to Melissa Elizabeth Ditmar. Sixth place exhibited by Harper Renee Peterson. Seventh place go to Avery Mathey. And eighth place in that class will go to Sydney Wiley. We're now going to bring the first and seconds in. Our judge will select his champion reserve, Junior Steers. Back over in the British white ring, our judge has brought in all of her first and seconds in our junior bull show, and she will be selecting Grand Reserve.
Our oldest bull, it was a single entry. We bring him back in and talk him now. He's kind of a meat and potatoes bull, just pretty basic in terms of his type and kind, not extra fancy anywhere, but he is stout and sound, probably carries a little extra condition, and you know, a good foot trimming might change his shape to his front feet a little bit. I think he's sound and good enough toed, but you could get a little nitpicky there. He's big-bodied, he's soft, and he's sound, so I think it just kind of basic, I guess. There's one individual that probably has just a touch more presence to him, and just the uniqueness, and sometimes you have to give to get. And the young lady's bull making the circle here, I'd relax him just a little bit in his pasterns, but he is the unique one out here in terms of show ring presence and still having some muscularity, some performance to him. He's going to be our champion today. Congratulations to that young lady.
Well, congratulations, grand champion British White Bull here in your junior show goes to Keegan Hockerman with HHF Mac.
So we get out here in the first division of the steer show again, reward these exhibitors, families, and breeders for a good round of applause. They've done a nice job, been almost every shape, color, size, and kind that you could ever ask for in this first division, but lots of quality all the way through. I think the one out of Class 1 has a very bright future. Again, I like his lines, I like his balance. I think he's going to be sound enough. I think there's enough muscle. Obviously, he's at a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of maturity in the lineup, but still one that you like a lot of things about. The black and white one that won the second class, again, a class that really had so many differences out there, and one that I just didn't need to change just a great deal about him in any particular way. I thought he was fairly solid in terms of his structure, ample in terms of muscle and power. Again, doesn't overwhelm you or draw you in any one way, but still a very nice one. And young man, you will have the champion of this division. Congratulations to you.
Congratulations, your champion junior steer coming out of class 27. That's Hadley Anderson with TB Razor.
Steer that came in second, again, we talked about the fact that that one's really got look and muscle and power. I just have some issues with him in terms of how he moves and how he's built structurally. That's what I need to change to make him more competitive. And for someone like me that really prioritizes that part of it, when I sort things out, it's that makes a challenge out here. But I still think he's got enough advantages to be reserved in this division. Congratulations to you, young man.
And congratulations, reserve junior champion steer coming out of that same class, going to Tommy Stewart with the Deacon CP. Congratulations to all of those exhibitors. We'll now look to get started with your senior division here in our steer show. Back over in the British White Ring, congratulations, reserve champion bull, exhibited by Kylie Spradling with KGS Sir Winston. If you're still here with us in the Jim Norick Arena, put your hands together and thank our judge, Miss Jeremy Viator.
Single entry in this class, but one that could stand some competition because, again, you can see how strong he is down his top line. You can admire the length and the total symmetry that he has, and one that still has some natural width and shape when you get right in behind him. We'll study him further in the division drive. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in the senior division. First place, class 30, will go to Jace Dickey with Sandstorm CP. We'll now look to see class 31. These steers are born May through August of the second preceding calendar year.
I like these single entries. It improves my batting average. Y'all can't argue with me on how the classes are placed, but this is a good one here. Again, one that I really like in terms of the fact that that calf is very proportionally correct. He still has some show ring look and appeal to him, and yet I think more than acceptable in terms of his structural build. So a nice place here in this class. Congratulations, Cowgirl. Give her a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the Longhorn Ring, results class 31, first place exhibited by Sheridan Van Blarkum with TB Gunsmoke. We'll now look to see class 32. These steers are born January through April of the second preceding calendar year.
I asked the young lady that leads the first heifer if it was getting any easier, because when she came out here in class, that heifer was a bit of a handful, and with a big smile, she said, yes, it is. So I think at this point for these young ladies, just getting out here and being in the ring more and more often is probably their biggest advantage. Young lady with that black sweater spent some time at home with that heifer. She knows what to do and how to get that heifer set up. She's going to be our champion junior showman, so congratulations to her today. Excellent job to both young ladies. Let's go ahead and lead your heifer out. Congratulations. Let's put our hands together, folks, ringside. These two young ladies have done a nice job.
Well, over in ring one, we are doing showmanship here in your junior British White show. Your first class in the ring was junior showmanship. First place will go to Kaylee Walczewski, and second place to Savannah James. We'll now look to see your intermediate division. We'll have 3 exhibitors in this class.
Young man's predominantly white one's going to win this class. And again, the decisive advantages that he has are in terms of structural integrity. He has so much more slope and angulation to his shoulder and knee. He's more mobile and flexible off either end of his skeleton. He's the deeper body, deeper sided calf. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you he's overblessed with muscle, and that's where I'd change him. And that's the advantage that the calf in second had. He is square. He is more shapely in terms of his muscle pattern. One, though, that in terms of his body shape, his flank, not quite as good in terms of his proportions. And then when we get him in motion, he gets awfully upright up front for me. But a good pair, just very different in terms of type and kind. Give him a nice round of applause.
Young man that I labeled as Cowboy earlier is going to win our intermediate division here. And as he's gotten out here, he's done a better job each time. And I think he understands what he needs to do with that heifer. He's one that's a little slower on his show stick, and I appreciate that. He and that heifer work really well together. Congratulations to him. Young lady's going to give him a hard race for his money down the road. And what I want her to do is just slow down a bit. There's times where you get a little fast on your show stick. Just slow down a little bit, okay? She has an excellent job in terms of eye contact, in terms of knowing which that individual needs to be set up, or how they need to be set up for their advantages. Just want her to slow down a little bit on her show stick. Young man that we conclude with, he's probably as calm and easy in his demeanor as any exhibitor that we've had out here today. There's times that where he's out here in the ring, and I'm judging showmanship as I'm judging the show. He just doesn't get set up as quickly as we need him to. So I'd encourage him to work at walking those cattle in and being set up and just setting up a hair quicker. Congratulations to our intermediate exhibitors.
Well, congratulations back in the Longhorn ring. Results class 32. First place was exhibited by Ethan Hickman with Calvary Hoot and Holler. And second place exhibited by Allison Lowry with G&L Blazing Guns. Now in the ring will be your final class of steers. This is class 33. Steers born in the third preceding calendar year. Back over in the British White Junior Show, we just concluded our intermediate class. First place went to Jet Smith. Second place was Isabella Johnson. And third place went to Ryan Walczewski. Now in the ring will be your final class of showmanship. These are senior showmen.
We got a pair of steers up front that have more similarities than they have differences, but within the pair, the blonde-headed young ladies is the one that is definitely more correct in terms of his depth of side. He's fuller through his flank. He's the stouter bone, stouter featured calf. They both have abundance of muscle, and I think he is most importantly, in my opinion, the one that is more correct in terms of his hip and tailhead assembly within the pair, so that's why it wins. Now, if you just want to muscle him up, the 1 and 2 has more muscle. He is stout. He is very shapely. He is round in terms of his rib, even though he is tighter in terms of his forerib and his rear flank. That detracts from his balance and his proportions on the side view profile. Study him in his hip. He's just not as fashionable, not as level there. It's evident in the way that he operates out of his rear hock. I just need to change him in those areas to let him win a very competitive pair. We've got a bold-sprung, deep-sided calf that comes in 3. That's very square in terms of his build, got some mass and dimension to him, not as attractive or lean up front in terms of his show ring look, and one that it gets a little awkward in terms of rear running gear. A better looking one of the pair is the young ladies in 4, longer and leveler in terms of design, not as much power, not as much stoutness, and then the little lady that closes out or anchors the class. Again, one that I like the front 1/3 of that one in terms of look, one though that in terms of body build and shape, not quite as impressive, and he's just the lightest muscled and the flattest made one of this group. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in Class 33. Your final class of steers. First place went to Jenny Lee Quillen with JL White Lightning. Second place was exhibited by TJ Danley. Third place went to Sheridan Van Blarkum. Fourth place and congratulations, Clarissa Hart. And fifth went to Hunter Lawson. We'll now bring those first and seconds in. Our judges select champion reserves, senior steers.
Obviously, in our senior division, it comes down to the 2 young ladies out here. Some real small, subtle differences between the 2. Both of them have some class-winning attributes. Young lady with the chromed-up heifer, one thing I'd encourage you to watch is staying straight in line. There's times where, just like right now, she's got her front end angled, and it'd be to her advantage to stay straight in line, be flat. Young lady that stands in the first spot, I think there's times where you can pick that heifer's head up and maybe loin her just a touch to just pull her together a little bit, because she wants to just get a little lax in her top. But I think you, for me today, have been the most consistent. You're the one that is going to be our senior champion today. Congratulations to this young lady. Congratulations to all the exhibitors. Thanks to the Cattlemen's Congress for always one of the most well-run, well-managed shows in the country. Thanks for the opportunity for the Sort Your British White Junior show today. Congratulations.
As we get out here in the senior division of steers again, give these kids a big round of applause. They've worked hard. They deserve it. A lot of work goes into this. I realize that. The 1 out of 1, again, I like that calf. He was a single entry, but I think he could stood some competition. He's extra long in terms of his silhouette. I still think he's got enough muscle and proportion to him. Maybe he's not as pronounced in terms of his rib shape, shape as some, and when you get in study him in terms of his side view, maybe he's a little lower set in terms of his shoulder assembly, but still a nice one. Another single entry came next. You like that calf on the move. He's deep in terms of his body. He's square in terms of his build. He's still sharp enough in terms of his look. He's one that, again, I think has enough muscle and enough mass. I don't know if he's as nearly as powerful in terms of those aspects as maybe the critters on either end of the lineup, but enough. And then we've got 1 and 3, really good looking, very, very agile, good in terms of build. That one's just got to be stouter in terms of muscle and power and rib shape. The 1 out of 4 is the meat wagon of the group. He's got a ton of power, got a ton of mass. He's level in terms of his hip, good in terms of his lines. I think for the dimension that he displays and has out here, I think he's more than sound enough. Maybe not quite as sharp in terms of his look up front, but he's got some age and maturity on him too, so that's going to come with that. I still like that one to win, young lady. Congratulations to you on the end.
Well, congratulations, your champion senior steer coming out of class 33. That's Jenna Lee Quinlan with JL White Lightning.
Steer that came second in that class. We talked about the fact that that one is just really stout, very square and shapely, like those things. I need to change him in terms of his hip and his hind leg. Even though he's not acting the best now, Cowgirl, you've got my reserve in this division. Congratulations to you.
And congratulations, reserve champion senior steer coming out of class 31. That's back number 5242 TB Gunsmoke, exhibited by Sheridan Van Blarkum. We're now going to get started with your miniature steer show. We'll be looking to start with class. My apologies. We do have to select our grand steer still. We're going to bring those juniors and seniors in, select a grand reserve, and then we'll get started with your miniature steer show.
Well, again, I sound like a broken record, but put your hands together for these kids as we get the grand and reserve steer out here. Good set, competitive group. There's been a lot of differences out here amongst them. I don't think any two of them looked exactly the same of the pair of champions that elevated up out of their divisions. I just think one within that pair is just a little more extra in some features, and so we'll go on and get him, name him the champion. We'll find you a reserve, but again, great kids. They've done a nice job. Give them a good round of applause.
Well, congratulations, grand champion steer coming on that senior division, going to Jenna Lee Quillen with JL White Lightning. In your reserve, grand champion steer is going to come out of the same division. Congratulations, Sheridan Van Blarkum with TB Gunsmoke. Well, over here in the British White Ring, we're going to get started with your open show. First class in the ring will be Class 1. We're excited to welcome your judge, Dr. John Rayfield of Lubbock, Texas.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here to sort through the open British Whites. What's the luck? I have to stand over here and try to talk against and compete against Ryan Rash on the mic. Oh my goodness. He's going to put me to shame, but I'll do my best to keep up pace with him. We've got a nice heifer calf to start the show off with over here. She's giving the young lady a fit right now, trying to get her shown, but nice heifer calf there. It's got some center body. She's got some skeletal correctness. She's not wanting to be a show heifer right now, and that's unfortunate for the young lady. Maybe she'll calm down when we get her out here with some other cattle, but a nice single entry heifer to start off our female show. Let's give her a round of applause.
Well, congratulations. First place in Class 1 will go to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Iris. Next class in will be Class 2 here in your Open British White Show.
Don't let Dr. Rayfield fool you. He can hold his own with anybody on the mic. I'm just a little louder dresser than you are, but that's okay. Again, in this class over here, start out the mini steer show. Young man's going to win because when we leave him in the park position, that's the one that portrays a better look in terms of a show ring presence. He's obviously one that is more correct in terms of his depth of body, his depth of flank. There's more power and there's more muscle in him. Both of them got to be better moving because that one really wants to get tight in terms of his rear hock and almost hyperextend when he gets in motion. But again, I think he needs to win. The calf that comes in second, long side level line calf that's just not quite as good in terms of mass, dimension, and width, and he wants to get underneath himself too in terms of the way that he goes. But a good pair. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in our first class of miniature steers. First place will go to Cameron Weber with LL Mr. Peanut. Second place, and congratulations exhibited by Danny Hillman. Well, now let's see class 39. These will be miniature steers born the second preceding year.
Well, nice set of heifer calves here, and two on the top end of the class that for me, in terms of skeletal design and correctness, they're the two you need to land on. The heifer that we start with, certainly the growthier, higher performing female of the pair, larger frame, longer bodied, certainly got plenty of internal dimension. But I think the big selling point on this heifer, aside from the striking side view profile you see, that one's just dead level in her top and her spine, level and square out of her hip. Takes a long and accurate stride in comparison to her contemporaries out here. The heifer in second's more like her. Now, she's a bit more moderate in terms of her frame size and practical in terms of her design. I love the center rib in that female. She's not quite as long and level in her hip. She wants to get up in her spine ever so slightly when we ask her to get out there and go. And she's not as stout from the ground up as the female we lead off with. Needs just a little more foot and bone to rival that heifer in first. The heifers in third and fourth are similar, I think, in their makeup. The heifer in third's got a little more shape and power and punch. She's the most expressively muscled one out here, and I appreciate that about her. However, she gets a little too rigid in her spine. She's a little straighter in the angle of her shoulder and a bit too straight from her hock to the ground. Would love for that one to travel freer and truer. If she does, we move her up a spot, but she's got the thickness and power and look you want to see, just not the skeletal correctness. The same holds true for this heifer we conclude with. Again, one that's long and extended in her pattern, like the long extended neck and front end she's got, gets a little too rigid and tight in her spine, has some difficulty going off both ends of her skeleton. Nice set of cattle to evaluate.
Again, there's so many different types and kinds out here, and depending on how you want to prioritize things, you can shuffle this up a great deal and justify it as long as you talk them accurately and correctly. Little lady that's going to win, that's the one just in terms of mass and stoutness and squareness. Obviously, the leading winner in those areas as you study that one compared to the contemporaries. And then when you add to that, that's the soundest, surest footed one of the group, that's why that one elevates to the top of this class for me. Now, I will not lie to you and tell you that that one is the best looking, because he's not, and he needs to be more attractive. In terms of his head and neck, he needs to be better in terms of his lines. Obviously, they know it because they're agreeing with me over here, but in this particular class, in terms of his muscle, in terms of his soundness, he needs to win. We do have a better looking one that comes into. He is longer in terms of his head, neck, and shoulder. He is more appropriate in terms of his feature. In terms of his body shape, though, he's not nearly as good as the one that wins. And then again, when we put him in motion, he gets awfully unorganized in terms of the way that he shuffles out of his rear running gear. If we just want to pick the best looking one, that's the one in third. That's the really elegant fronted one that's strong and stable in terms of top line, dead level in terms of lines. A KF, though, that as you study him to the two that precede him, there's just not enough muscle, there's not enough power, and it gets awfully frail in terms of his bone and foot size. We've got one that is stouter and wider that comes in four, long-sided KF that's got to be more appropriate in how he is made out of his hip, and he's got to be more secure in terms of the way that he sets down on the surface. Young man doing a great job here that anchors out the class. Again, a nice necked one that's attractive. There's just not enough to him in terms of width and dimension. Very good class, lots of differences. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations back over in the British White Ring. Results from Class 2. First place exhibited by Tracy Van Horn with Tara Rubras 23-18. Second place was exhibited by Tina Williams. Third place went to Smith Farm and Cattle Company. In fourth place, Emily Walczewski. Now in Ring 1, we have Class 3 in your British White Open Female Show. Back over in the Longhorn Ring, results of Class 39 miniature steers. First place was exhibited by Tegan Matthey. Second place went to TJ Danley. Third place, Melissa Elizabeth Ditmar. Fourth place exhibited by Jalen Krimmel. And fifth place went to Nicholas Matthey.
Well, a nice trio of these British white heifers, and the black and white heifer's the one you need to tie to in this class. Just in terms of balance and look and quality, I think you like a lot of things about that one. She's certainly striking on the side view profile, long and extended in her pattern, square and level in her hip. She takes a pretty long and accurate stride when you set her into motion, and she's got as much foot and bone and substance as any out here. She's a nickel in her front end, and she's a little harsher about her forerib than probably ideal. But again, aside from that, I think that's an awfully nice female that brings some positives to the table and just has really, really cool markings. Heifer in seconds, one that I think you like just from a practicality standpoint. She's sound structured, she's big bodied, and she's square and level as well out through her hip. She's a little bit shorter and plainer up through her neck and her front end, a little deeper and bolder there in her chest. I don't read her with quite as much natural thickness when you step right in behind the cattle. But again, like the bold rib in that heifer, appreciate the fact that she is always going to be a easy keeping, low maintenance brood cow. Female in thirds, one that's a little longer, a little more extended in her pattern. I like the length and extension up front in comparison to the heifer right in front of her. To me, she gets a little shorter and rounder in her hip, a little higher in her spine, just a little tighter wound off both ends of her skeleton. We want to give that one a bit more rib expansion, free her up in her skeleton to make her competitive with those top two heifers.
We've got three that, again, are very, very different in terms of the way that they look. And, again, if I could take all the parts and pieces of each one that I like and roll them into one, it'd be a real easy trio to sort. That's not the case, but still all good, just different. The one that wins is the one that has the length advantage, the best-looking one as you study that one up front, smoothest and flattest at the point of his shoulder, way better in terms of his joints than the one that comes in two. And that's primarily why that one wins. Is there enough muscle in that calf? I don't know. It's very, very on the borderline for me. I'd like to see that one stouter and more powerful, but way better in terms of joints and nicer to look at. The heaviest muscled, most massive one, that's the gentleman's in two. Really round in terms of his rib, squarest out of his hip. He's one, though, in terms of his joints and his footwork. Just not good enough in that area for me to let him win the class. The deepest bodied, boldest sprung one is the young ladies in third. Again, in terms of structural integrity and shoe ring balance, that's where that one falls a little shy and a little short. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, nice single entry female here on the British White side, and again, one that's got some skeletal correctness. She's really made well when you study her angles and her joints. Appreciate the fact that this one's got that brood cow look when you study her from the side. Love the depth and to her rib cage. Appreciate her long extended neck and front end. She's real fresh in terms of condition as well. If we want to be ultra nitpicky, we might want to see just a little more shape in that one from behind. But again, I just like the maternal look of that one. Appreciate her skeletal correctness. We'll see her again in a division drive.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the Longhorn ring, results of your final class of miniature steers. First place exhibited by Sarah Danley. Second place went to TJ Danley. And third place went to Savannah Wiley. We're not going to bring those first and seconds in. Our judges will select Champion Reserve miniature steer. Back over in the British White ring, results from Class 3. First place was exhibited by Caden Hockerman with HHF Squirrel. Second place went to Trenton Briley, and third place was Smith Farm and Cattle Company. We then brought in Class 4. First place in that class was exhibited by Kylie Spradling with Tara Rubra's 2231. Now coming in ring 1 is Class 5 here in your British White Open Female Show.
Well, again, let's give the mini steer exhibitors a nice round of applause. They've worked just as hard as anybody else out here today at Cattlemen's Congress and doing a nice job. And again, my mother tells me I'm entirely too honest, but it's worked this far, so I guess I'll keep up with it. This is the hardest decision by far that I've had of the whole deal. And again, it's not because of quality. They're just all three very, very different. And you can justify whatever way you want to, and you just got to stick to your priorities, and most importantly, you just got to call them right, because that's the thing. The one that wins one, if we leave him stopped, he wins for me. He's the best looking one. He's really strong down his top. He's attractive in terms of his head and neck. I think he's probably the second heaviest muscled one out here. When he gets moving, his rear hock scares me. I'll just be honest. Wants to hyperextend too much there for me. Gets a little rigid. But again, he's still a contender, because there, when we get him part, he's the one that I gravitate to. The one in the middle is sound. He's square. He's got the most mass and muscle, and I like that about him. We all know, or most he knows, I like good-looking ones, and I'm not going to call that one good-looking. I'm just going to be real honest. I think he's well-built and nice-moving and powerful. I don't think he's as show-ring-oriented as what I consider him ideal out here. But again, he has as many advantages as any of them in the lineup in a lot of areas. Then we've got one behind that one that's way different than the rest of them. Really long spine, really attractive up front. Is there enough body? Is there enough mass in that dude? I don't know. Again, this is tough. I'll tell you when it's tough, and it's tough. I'm going to take one more look at them, get you a grand and reserve. They're all good. They're just some differences. Give them a nice round of applause.
Congratulations, your champion miniature steer here in the Longhorn show. We'll go to Tegan Maffey with 2M Waldo. And congratulations, reserve champion, coming out of our first class of miniatures, goes to Cameron Weber with LL Mr. Peanut. Again, congratulations to all of our Longhorn exhibitors, and a special thank you to Mr. Ryan Rash. We are going to bring in our junior showmanship class as soon as we get the ring cleared over here in the Longhorn ring.
Well, our deepest class that we've seen in terms of numbers and also in terms of pure quality, real nice cattle out here to evaluate, and especially these 5 females that we get out here in this class. Heifer we lead off with, again, here's one that's just striking when you study her on the side view profile. To go along with that, she's got that cow power to her midsection. She's certainly square and level in her hip. Stout enough in regards for a female when we talk about muscle and read her down her top and study her from behind. But I think more importantly, she just collects herself so well on the move. And when you get her parked and study her from this view, she just gives you a killer show heifer look. She wins pretty easily in my mind. The heifers in second and third become maybe a scotch closer, but to me, the young lady's heifer in second's just so much bolder and deeper about her center rib, so much sounder off both ends of her skeleton, and she's trimmer and more honest in terms of her body condition. That one's a little more moderate in terms of her frame size. She's not as long and doesn't have quite the bells and whistles that we see in the class winner, but boy, she's big-bodied, certainly thick and powerful from behind, and she too's got that skeletal correctness we want to see, like that one to slide into second hole. The black and white heifer in third, there's pieces of that one that I really like, then there's pieces of her that I really just need to change. When I study her standing still, I think you like the shape and power and dimension you see in that female. She's thick and stout and massive from end to end. You study her up front, she wants to twist out from her knee down to the ground. She's a little off in terms of her front end construction. And then when you set her into motion, that starts to tell on her as well. I'd like to free her up off both ends of her skeleton, set her tail head down into her a little more naturally, lengthen her hip just a bit, and I think she'd balance up a bit better for us. But I certainly like the added shape and power and dimension, like the foot and the bone work you see in that female. She just needs to come to us in a sounder package. Female in fourth, another one that's fundamentally correct as far along in terms of calf as any of them that we've seen. Like the fact that she's long and level in her spine. She's a little flatter made than some of the other cattle, not as impressive and as powerful in the top side of her hip, but again, sound structured, long extended fronted, nice cattle to compete in this class. The gray-necked heifer that concludes the class, she's the most moderate one of the lineup. She's a bit off in terms of her skeleton. I'd set her out square and truer from her hock to the ground, let her travel with more freedom and ease of movement, but also give her more length, extension, and femininity like we see at the top end of that very competitive class. Nice set of cattle to evaluate. Let's give them a round of applause. Single entry here that could have sure stood some competition. There's a big-bodied female that's certainly got the right kind of rib and volume and mass, like the big square hip that she's got as well. She's one that's pushing a little condition. We might trim her up in her chest and her front end just a bit. probably give her a little more spread and femininity about that teat size as well, and shorten those up, give them a little more spread. Her udder's a little wonky looking, but she is one that I think's further along in terms of gestation. I think that may change and either get better or worse when we study her down the road. But a nice female that's got some muscle, some shape, some dimension. We'll see her again in a drive.
Well, as we get out here in the first division of Showmanship, again, please give these exhibitors a good round of applause. They've worked hard all day. Showmanship at the end for exhibitors isn't nearly as fun. As a judge, for me, it's much easier because I've seen them go multiple times, and my opinions are pretty set and firm on who's going to win, because I truly believe the point of showmanship and becoming a great showman is to give you an advantage when the banner's on the line in the class. And so, again, really, really good. The one that's going to win, I think, has done an exceptional job all day. Excellent in terms of feet and leg placement. Very good in terms of keeping the head up. Maybe not as intense as the two girls that are going to be reserved in third. But, buddy, right here, you're the champion showman. Congratulations to you. This young lady's going to be reserved. Congratulations to you. And the young lady up in the front will be third. Congratulations to you.
Well, congratulations over here in the Longhorn ring. Results of our junior division. First place went to Ethan Hickman. Second place, and congratulations, Melissa Elizabeth Dittmar. And third place went to Bryn Hickman. Now in the ring, we're bringing in your intermediate division. Back over in the British White ring, our judge, Dr. John Rayfield, is selecting your Grand Reserve British White Open females.
Well, certainly a nice lineup of British White females. We get all of our class winners back out here, and certainly I'm pleased with the quality and consistency we see in these females. Let's give these exhibitors a big round of applause. They've had to work all day and wait on show time, and it's feeding time. Cattle are getting ready to be kicked out, and so I commend them for working hard and staying with it all day long. I appreciate your efforts. Young lady's heifer that wins the first class, nice heifer calf. Big body, got some thickness and some shape to her as well. Still real green in terms of composition. Think that one's better days are ahead of her. Same holds true for this heifer that wins the second class. I think when you project her down the road, that's one that's going to be special. I think sound structured, dead level in terms of her spine, big-bodied heifer there that I think's got tons of quality to her, and I think that one will get better with time and age and maturity. She's probably not quite as thick and as stout as some out here, but to me, in terms of look and balance and quality, she's one of the better cattle out here in terms of build and makeup. The black and white speckled heifer is intriguing, and when you study her from this view, you like a lot of things about her. I think you like the added shape and dimension that female's got. She's big-topped, she's thick-ended, and she's just got some look and presence to her. You set that one into motion, she's a little tighter off both ends of her skeleton. If we want to be honest, she gets a little straight in the angle of her shoulder. She's a little tight and tentative from her hock to the ground when you ask her to get out there and go. Now, standing still, she gives you as good a look as any, and I appreciate that about her. I want her to be a little cowier about her midsection, but she is tricked out and neat looking, and if all else fails, man, that one would make one cool looking rug. I know you don't want to think about doing that with her, but she has got one of the coolest hides you'd ever want to see anywhere. The heifer right behind her, that one's big bodied and practical in her makeup as well. She's a little flatter in her design. Heifer there that's got a big wide square hip. You step in behind her, she gets a little flatter and more nondescript in regards to muscle. Wants to hock in just a bit more than ideal off those rear legs. And she's a little plainer in her overall look. But again, moderate framed, sound structured cattle that I think is built for the long haul. The heifer that wins the next class that's circling right now, study her from the ground up, and you like her as well as any of them out here. Big-footed, rugged-boned, durable in terms of her construction. She takes a sound, long, agile stride off both ends. Love the shape and flare she's got to her rib cage. Really like the way that her rib comes out of her spine. Also appreciate the fact that this one's just killer looking when you study her and get her parked from the side. When she does show, and she's not showing right now, when she does show and cock off for you from the side, she sure looks like a powerful female just in terms of width, dimension, and she's still got that femininity, balanced look from the side, along with some skeletal correctness. The heifer that wins the last class, another one that's moderate frame, deep bodied, got some thickness and some stoutness to her. A little shorter and plainer up through her neck and her front end, a little bolder in her chest, a little weird and wonky, I think, in the way that her udder's starting to form, and I'd want to fix that a bit and give her a little more femininity to her teats, give her a little more spread as well. But again, another one that's practical in her design. Looks like she'll be a nice brood cow for the young lady. One more time, let's give them a round of applause. I'll show you which two I like the best.
As we get out in this division, extremely competitive, and I don't know if they all have, but at some point, all of them have the capabilities to win a showmanship contest. So again, put your hands together for these young exhibitors. Very, very good job. And it is close. I think it's much closer than the last division. But again, I go back to what I see earlier, because I tell people all the time, and you don't like to hear it, you spend 6 to 8 hours a day in a barn working these things, and it's all about 10 seconds. But that's the truth. That first 10 seconds sets the tone for every single thing, especially when you're me. That 10 seconds never leaves. And so, when it is close like this, I go back to impress me first off. More than your mullet, young man, you're a great showman. You're going to win. Congratulations to you. Young lady right here is going to be reserved. Congratulations to you. And this gentleman's going to come in third. Congratulations to you.
Well, congratulations. Back over here in your British white ring, your grand champion coming out of Class 5 goes to SC Candy Kisses, exhibited by Tracy Van Horn.
We bring in that second place heifer out of Class 5, and that was the deepest and the toughest class we sorted in the female show. And honestly, it's between this heifer and the black and white heifer in my mind. Now, those are contrasting in terms of type and kind. The heifer that was second in Class 5 is just more moderate, broody, deeper, stouter. Like the fact that she's just got that brood cow presence to her. Not as long, not as extended, maybe not as tricked out, but a nice, practical female that's certainly in consideration. We talked about the black and white heifer, and you know, there's things about that one that I'd change. I'd change her skeletal design ever so slightly. I don't think she's a structural wreck, but she's a nickel straighter than she ought to be up front. I'd give her a little more cow power to her midsection, but that one's got so many more intriguing pieces and parts. I think she's the logical choice to be reserved. Congratulations.
And congratulations, Reserve Grand Champion in our Open British White Female Show, coming out of Class 3, going to Caden Hockerman with HHF Squirrel. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We're now going to bring in our single entry open steer here in your British White Show. Back over in the Longhorn ring, results of the intermediate division. Congratulations, your champion intermediate showman was Michael Brody Gregory. Reserve champion was Harley Robertson. And third place was Jackson Juarez. Now in the Longhorn ring, we are going to bring in your third class of showmen. These are 13 to 15-year-old showmen.
Well, single entry here in our steer show, and one that could have sure stood some competition. Young lady brings us a neat looking, attractive steer that looks like he's going to feed well, sound on his feet and legs, got some added shape and dimension when you study him through his center and his lower quarter. One that I think's got a bright future ahead of him. Congratulations, young lady, on your champion steer.
Congratulations, champion British White steer here in your open show, going to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Pan. We'll now go right into the British White Open Bull Show. First class in the ring will be Class 1.
Little single entry bull calf here, and he could have stood some competition. This guy's still skinny and green, so it's hard to read a whole lot into him. You can tell that he's pretty sound and flexible in terms of movement. He's got some center body to him. Looks like he's going to have some shape from behind. If we want to be ultra critical of him, we'd make him a little nicer right there behind his shoulder and stouten him up in that regard, but really like the long extended neck and front end. Appreciate his skeletal correctness. He's one that I think will get better every day he's on feed. We'll see him again in a division drive.
Well, congratulations in our first class, the British White Bulls. First place will go to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Chaos. We'll now look to see Class 2 here in your bull show.
Well, again, this is probably the toughest decision I've had to make so far. These are good. They're very, very good out here all the way through. If you have one out here or know of one of them in this showmanship deal, you should be proud of them and tell them good job when they leave, because this is tough. Give them a nice round of applause. And no matter what species I'm judging or where I'm at judging, this age division is normally the toughest. And there's a real rational reason for that if you think about it. They've been around the block more than the younger kids. They don't have as many hormones as the seniors. So they'll still listen to somebody and take constructive criticism well. And so they absorb more. And so really, really good set. And I think it's tough. I only get to pick 3. There's one that has impressed me all day. Cowgirl, you're the champion. Congratulations to you right here. Sparkles up front's going to be reserved. Congratulations to you. Young lady with the pair at the back will come third. Congratulations to her.
Well, congratulations in showmanship over here in your Longhorn show in our 13 to 15-year-old division. Your champion will go to Braylon Miller, second place to Jalen Krimmel, and third place went to Kara Burns. We're now going to bring in your senior division over here in our Longhorn showmanship.
Well, nice trio of bull calves here, and the logical place to start's the young lady's bull here in front. He's just a stout, burly built one that's big-bodied, certainly thick and powerful from behind. Just one that I think's got plenty of future to him as well. Sound structured, good-footed, certainly a big, wide hip in him, and a bull that balances well when you study him from the side. Just looks like a beef bull in comparison to his contemporaries out here. The bulls in second and third get a little closer, and to be honest with you, I went back and forth between the two because I could make a case for swapping that pair if you want to talk about ideals and future and things like that. Today, the bull in second needs to go second because he's bigger bodied. He's a little leveler in his spine. He's certainly a little further along in terms of feeding pattern. He's not quite as shapely and as powerful up high as the bull in third. He's not as neat and attractive up front. So there's give and take in that pair. I like the bull that's a little further along with a little more center body today. The younger bull that's there in third, just real green and skinny in terms of composition. I think he gets better every day he's on feed. Love his front end design. Prefer his hip and his hind leg over the bull that's in second. But again, he's just a notch too skinny and green in terms of composition today to get up over that more powerful bull in second.
Well, congratulations in our second class of British White Bulls. First place exhibited by Tracy Van Horn with Tara Rubra's 23:31. Second place exhibited by Emma Walczewski with RCA Dewey. And third place will go to Isabella Johnson with Sensational Atlas. We'll now look to see Class 3 here in your British White Bull show.
What an interesting trio of British White Bulls to sort here. And on paper, all three of them are the same age. There's some differences in terms of maturity, calendar age, whatever you want to call it. But when you study the three bulls, I think the logical sort's to put the most problem-free bull in first. He's not problem-free, but he's the most problem-free, so let me be clear there. He's the moderate frame, deep-bodied one that's got some added shape and dimension and power to him. I think in terms of skeletal correctness, he's the one that suits me the best. He's got a little extra set to his hock, but he gets out and covers his track real well. Like the fact that that one balances better from the side than the next two bulls. Just a more complete version of those other two right behind him. Now, the big, growthy, high-performing bull in second's one that you want to tie to initially because of his size and his length and his foot and his bone and his mature look. You get in behind him, though, he quickly becomes the lightest muscled one out here. I want him to have a little more power and punch and shape when you study him up high. I want him to be a little deeper and bolder about his center rib like we see in the bulls on either side of him. The bull that concludes the class, when he's standing still, it gives you a good look. He's thick, he's shapely, he's powerful. But when you set him into motion, he gets up in his top. He wants to get up right on those rear pasterns. I just worry about his structural longevity as we project him down the road.
Well, I think this is my final swan song over here on the Longhorn side. So again, if you're not impressed with the quality of the senior showmen, you probably need to get a different sport because they are very, very good. Give them a nice round of applause. Excellent, excellent division. Quality is so deep out here, and I don't do many Longhorn shows. This is only my second one. Last one was pretty controversial after it was over. This one probably will be too, and I'm okay with that. I wear it like a badge of honor, and so, but I have enjoyed it, and the quality has been good, and what's been better are the kids that I've got to work with because they've been excellent out here. And so again, you know, showmanship is one of those things I really enjoy judging it. For y'all on that side of it, it's a lot harder to stomach for taking criticism about Steven or Sarah, the show person, than it is Sassy, the show cow. You can handle that, but when you talk about your kid, it's a little tougher. I get it, but they're very, very good. I can't think of a better way to end 2023 than at Cattlemen's Congress, the finest livestock show, cattle show in the world. I also get to start off 2024 here tomorrow. So I'm pumped. I'm excited. Young man, you win right here. Congratulations to you.
Thanks, sir.
Gentleman up front is going to be reserved. Congratulations to you. Young lady down there in the corner, the blonde, is going to be third right there. Congratulations to her.
Single entry bull here on the British White side, and again another one that could have sure stood a lot of competition. He's one that's sound, functional, big-footed, rugged bone, got plenty of depth and dimension of rib. Still one that's neat looking and attractive up front, correcting his hip with some added shape from behind. We'll see him again in the bull drive, but a nice single entry there.
Well, congratulations in our senior division. Champion went to Tyler Lindsay over here in the Longhorn ring. Reserve champion to go to Hunter Lawson. And third place to go to Jenny Quidlin. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors. Special thank you to our judge, Mr. Ryan Rash. Back over the British White ring, we do have the results from Class 3. First place was exhibited by Kylie Spradling with KGS Sir Winston. Second place in that class was exhibited by Tracy Van Horn. And third place exhibited by Keegan Hockerman. In Class 4, first place went to Tracy Van Horn with SC Caesar. We're now bringing in those first and seconds, and our judge is going to select his grand and reserve grand champion, Open British White Bull.
Well, as we conclude the Open British White Show, let's put our hands together for these bull exhibitors. They brought us a nice set of cattle, and appreciate the opportunity to come to Cattlemen's Congress and sort through these cattle. Haven't had a ton of numbers, but we've sure had plenty of quality to talk about. And like Ryan and Jeremy said before, it's certainly an honor to get to come to Cattlemen's Congress and sort anything, and appreciate the fact that the British White Association had me today to judge, and always love to come to Cattlemen's Congress, and it's one of the best run cattle shows in the world, so it's an honor and a privilege to get to judge here. You study the little bull out of the first class, neat looking and attractive, still real skinny and green in terms of composition. Just needs some more time and maturity, and I think his better days are ahead of him. Bull out of the second class, powerful, thick, stout, burly, ribbed bull that I think's got a lot of good to him. He gets maybe a little short and plain up through his neck and his front end, a little shorter coupled in terms of his spine, but you love the fact that he's powered up from end to end. Love his rib and volume and skeletal correctness. Nice bull. The bull out of the third class, he won a class that was difficult and challenging to sort through, but he was the most complete bull of that trio. I'll still stand by that and say that he's neat looking and attractive. He's probably not as powered up as the bulls on either side of him. He needs to have a little more shape and dimension up high in his hip. He probably needs to have a little more foot and bone in comparison to his contemporaries on either side of him, but a nice looking, neat, attractive bull. The older bull that just won our last class, again, talked about him just a second ago. He's big-footed, he's stout-boned, he's got a lot of power and shape and dimension to him. Bull there that balances real well also, and one that I think brings plenty of quality to the table. Honestly, for me, the decision's between he and the bull out of the second class, and so figure out which one of those bulls you like the best. I like them both. I could make a case for using either one of them. There's some slight differences between the pair, but for me, Big Bull needs to win. Bull out of class 2 needs to be reserved. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations, your champion British White Bull coming out of Class 4, exhibited by Tracy Van Horn with SC Caesar. Reserve champion will go to our Class 2 winner, also Tracy Van Horn with Tara Rubra's 23-31. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors. Special thank you to our judge, Dr. Rayfield.